Welcome to This Morning on Asakhe podcast, your daily dose of insightful conversation on current affairs, politics, and social issues. Please share and also follow us on social media at Site ZW. Now, stay tuned to today's episode.
A very good morning to you guys. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of This Morning on Asakhe. My name is Brighton Ngube. It's lovely right here in Bulawayo. The sun is out. Yeah, we're back again to give you another dose of political news, current affairs, and everything happening in our various communities of Zimbabwe. Today on the show, we want to look at the screaming headline that was screaming on the newspaper, the mainstream newspapers, where the ZEC chairperson, Justice Chigumba, says political parties must be registered. These calls were made during a portfolio committee meeting that was done in Bulawayo, where Justice Chigumba said no, political parties must be registered. So I want to look at that this morning. I'm sure I'll be joined by Zapo SG to hear his reaction, and I was supposed to be joined by Unza Vice President as well to hear his reaction to that. Is it a good move? Is it a bad move? Good morning, Mr. Anana. Welcome to the show this morning. What do you think about this call that have been made by ZEC chairperson to say all political parties must be registered with ZEC to avoid the chaos that we saw last year? What do you think about that? What's your reaction to that call made by ZEC chairperson?
Thank you, Brighton. I think we need to analyze the context in which the call was made, and also when we are analyzing this context, we must also be able to understand the issues that she seeks to solve, because we cannot have a blanket generalization that when we have registered parties, which I'll look into at some point, we will have solved the chaos that comes with the issue of elections. And when maybe as a starting point, I think let's look at what the Electoral Act says as far as running a democratic, fair election is concerned, because there are certain aspects that must make an election credible and fair and democratic and expressive of the will of the populace and the general majority. Because we then need to analyze and say to ourselves, as ZEC or as Zimbabweans, have we achieved these things to the point that it is the lack of registration of parties that is making or contributing significantly to making our elections undemocratic?
Let's go to Njabulo. Good morning to Njabulo. What do you think about this call by Chigumba to say all political parties must be registered to avoid the chaos that we saw in last year in August, and also to avoid the double candidature that we saw again last year in August?
Good morning, Brighton. When we look at the Electoral Act, there is already enough provisions for us not to have a double candidate. But I think the deliberate move which was made by ZEC to allow a double candidate, this is why I don't understand why they are now saying no. The only way we can solve this problem is for political parties to be registered. Yet the provision in the Electoral Act does not allow you to have a double candidate. When you read the Electoral Act, it tells you once one political party is registered, you cannot come and register in the same constituency or the same position using the same political name. So in the first place that we should be asking, even if this political party were to register, is ZEC going to be able to honor its locuzen, its end part of the bargain, or its end part of the promise, to say this is what it's going to solve a problem at a candidate? Yet already in the Electoral Act, the provisions for us not to have a double candidate, it's already there, and ZEC failed to honor it. How do you, as ZEC, allow two people to come and register, say, no, we are from ZAP, omunye 2 minutes later, we are I know it's ZAP, and you still take for the same constituents or for the same word? Yet the provision tells you can't have two people using the same. It's there in the electoral act. So it shows the lack of genuinity and the lack of law. Abawulandela imithetho yabo ZEC. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Jabulo, for that. Let's go to another speaker there. Good morning to you, KK.
Good morning, Saita. I think Chigumba has been a target of unfair criticism in some cases, and that in a way has shaped how she does her job. She's leading one of a key institution in our democracy, Chapter 12 institution, and I don't think we've gone far enough to ensure that, both in terms of how it stands and how it executes its duties, we have fully secured that independence ourselves in terms of our laws and things like that. Now, 2023 election exposed a number of issues, some of which has to do with how ZEC conducted itself, but most has to do with, how all these laws and are coming together. And we've never had such an election that has been legislated on as 2023. Now, what doesn't come across, what doesn't come out is what interactions was Chigumba having with the executive, and to what extent were those meetings, because I think she has had to resist a lot of things coming from the executive that doesn't get picked up by the media and get talked about. All these things we haven't completely mapped out, because there are processes that have to be done in conjunction, where ZEC has to do in conjunction with the executive. And I'm talking about the president. Certain publications, certain announcements, every interaction comes with some force that the executive will obviously try to force their way, or to exert pressure on Chigumba. And it doesn't get captured that in some of these things, Chigumba has had to stand a ground basing on the constitution and on the law. So I'm going to rest there.
Thank you so much, KK, for that. Quite interesting what you're raising there by the issue of not judging Chigumba fairly. I see another speaker there. Good morning to you, Leonard.
Good morning, Brighton. How are you? Yeah. Just a short one. I think Chigumba Priscilla must not insult our intelligence. We've got a problem in the house. We've got an elephant to deal with in the house. We've got some pending cases, and which have never been addressed. I don't think she's in right frame of mind to tell political parties to register. Yes, registering a political party is not a problem, but the problem which we are getting from ZEC is the operation. I think ZEC must just be reformed. It must be dismantled and come up with a very proper institution to run our elections. Right now, we've got a case which is standing in SADC tribunal, where ZEC failed to run elections professionally. So I think Chigumba must actually look at those issues rather than telling political parties to start registering. We can't be always in an election mood, yet we still have pending issues to be solved. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for that, Leonard. Guys, we've come to the end of our show for this Tuesday morning. It's been lovely hanging out with you and discussing the issue of Priscilla Chigumba calling all political parties to be registered. For myself, Brighton Ngube, it's bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. For feedback, you can contact us on 263-777-470017. Don't forget to follow and like our social media pages.